That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Raymer. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you're a long-time listener, thank you for supporting us. Always good to have you back. Got a great show planned for you today. Now, September is National Recovery Month. And man, our guest today is somebody who I've been waiting to have on the show for a while. So really excited to get him on here, and we'll intro him in just a minute. But I got a quick question for you first. How many times have you looked for a good, healthy, non-alcoholic drink alternative? I know I've done many podcasts about it. We've had different discussions on the show about it. One of my go-tos has been soda water and cranberry. You know, that's one of my favorites. But what if I told you there was a USDA organic certified sparkling yerba mate beverage that comes in low and 0 calorie options, 16 ounce cans. They're packed with 160 milligrams of organic caffeine. Let me tell you, they're really good. I've drinking them many times. I got some great news for you. There is. It's called CLEAN Cause. They're a former sponsor of ours. You may have heard of them in some of the past TSG episodes. Not only are they good, here's my favorite part. CLEAN Cause donates 50% of all of its profits. Not 5%, not 10, not 20, 50% to sober living scholarships. So it's one of my favorite things about the company itself. That's why we've continued to support them. And then here, check this out for today. The CLEAN Cause team has given us a 30% discount for all of our TSG listeners on orders of CLEAN Cause drinks. So make sure you stick around. At the end of the podcast today, I'll drop that promo code for you so you can get the 30% off your order at CLEAN Cause. And so you might be thinking like, well, you know, Shane, why are you talking about CLEAN Cause right off the bat today? Let me tell you why. We have the founder of CLEAN Cause here today. His name is Wes Hurt. Wes is the father of 2 boys. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's got a killer mustache I can't wait for you to see. He's a person in recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. He's based out of Austin, Texas. And check this out. CLEAN Cause has granted over 2,170 sober living scholarships, representing more than $1,085,000. So just amazing things they're doing over there. Great product. We're going to get to Wes. We're going to hear some of his story, hear a little bit about CLEAN Cause and more. But before we do that, be sure to check us out at thatsoberguy.com. You can follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. And then I'd love for you to join us on the Locals Sober Guy community. It's kind of like Instagram meets Patreon. You can help support us there. You can be part of a growing sober community that's safe. It'll help you stay accountable. You'll have some fun in the process. I'd love to have you join right now. You can download the Locals app, or you can go to thatsoberguypodcast.locals.com. Both those links are in the show notes. And of course, everything we talk about today will be in the show notes, so it's easy access for you to find. So without further ado, let's get to my buddy Wes Hurt. Wes, you're out in Austin, Texas, from Cali to Texas and Texas to Cali. Good to have you on the podcast today, man.
Thanks for having me, man. And more than that amazing introduction, my favorite part of it was the mustache call out.
Yes, me too.
I'm an egomaniac with low self-esteem, and I've been working on this damn thing. And so for you to call that out, man, you were winning this morning. I'm ready to crush it for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good times. And hey, we're laughing a little bit right off the bat. What the hell is being sober and being in recovery if you can't have a good time? I'm like such a big advocate for that, having fun on the podcast and just in the day-to-day. So we're going to do that throughout this convo today. I guess to kick it off, well, I had a question I want to ask you, but first I want to tell you one thing, and I'm hoping maybe you can just give my mom, Darcy, a shout out. She's like I'm a big fan of CLEAN Cause, but she's like the ultimate fan. Like she was down here. We're down in Huntington Beach, and her and my sister came out for the weekend, and she didn't know we were doing this interview or anything, but I noticed she was wearing her CLEAN Cause shirt like the whole damn time she was here. So I was hoping, Wes, maybe you might just be able to give my mom, Darcy, a little holler, and just from the CLEAN Cause founder himself, man.
Darcy from the CLEAN Cause founder himself, but also the CLEAN team based in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you for spreading the cause. And I mean, you're part of the team. So you rock, Darcy.
Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. So Wes, tell us one thing about being sober that some people might disagree with.
The way that I talk about it, in the opinion that, I'm not that orthodox. I am not very prescriptive. And so I really have chosen to take more of an open position on, recommendations and referrals and stuff. The way that I, CLEAN, for example, the name, language is super important. However, it's also super important to understand how someone means something and what the context is behind it. And so what you were saying, one thing about, were you saying about, rephrase the question, because I know or say the question again, if you would.
So one thing about being sober, that maybe a lot of people might disagree with or see an alternative viewpoint on.
Yeah. So again, mine revolves around the sensitivity of talking about it. We talked about, if you can't have fun in life, if you can't be candid, and we're talking about the proper balance, but the reality is this is just, recovery, addiction and all that. That's just my flavor of affliction in life. I call it. Everybody's got some shit. And so to me, it's just a lot of people don't agree maybe with kind of the more liberal take I have on it, in the sense of being more open-minded about what the potential and the possibilities are. And so that's what I've experienced.
No, I like that, because I think that's why a lot of people listen to this podcast, is because we don't have, it's not a one way, this is the only way, and if you don't do it like this, you're wrong. Like, we're all different human beings. We come from different backgrounds. We have this one thing in common, recovery, sobriety. But there's different ways that work for some people and don't work for others. So I understand that, and I love exploring new options and new things. So, I mean, I think that's a great call out on your part too. So maybe let's get to know you a little bit. Obviously, you are in recovery. Take us back. I mean, give us a little background about yourself. How did it used to be? How'd you get sober? And then, what's it like today? And then of course we'll talk about CLEAN Cause a bit more too.
Sure. So as the case with most folks, I started experimenting in my early teens, probably. And that looked like drinking and smoking and maybe doing a little bit of coke here and there, although that was like really scary back then. And then, some mushrooms, wherever the case may be. I didn't play with the heavy drugs early on with a high frequency. They would be a one-off, but alcohol was definitely my entrance into starting to feel more comfortable as using it as my medication of how to deal with my anxiety and just discomfort of not really knowing how I fit into things. And so alcohol, over a 20-year span, I'll save all the little stories that we all can probably relate to, in terms of, I've been to 6 rehabs. I've been to a psych ward. I've rolled a car in Hollywood. I've ended up in Belize barefooted by myself, in Tijuana, lived in Alabama. I mean, I've done the geographics. I've done the CrossFit to try to get better. Well, I've done the, I tried every freaking thing, but I'm not sure I really tried necessarily, if that makes sense. But, I have all of the, my resume is real in terms of the 20-year run. And what happened though over the final, I would say 4 years of my addiction, is that I started to really lean in more to the heavier drugs on a greater frequency. What I was using before didn't get the same effect I wanted. Hence I needed to upgrade, so to speak. And really a downgrade if you think about it. But anyway, so it went from, using cocaine more regularly and, a few times a week. And then What really brought me to my knees, though, because for some reason I was able to be functional, even on cocaine, to where I would have days in between the binges where I'd pull it together, isolate enough from people where they didn't really know what was going on, or at least that was my thought process, what I thought was going on. But opiates are really what brought me to my knees. I was never a fan necessarily, because I don't know if I even tried it, or I don't know why I didn't find them earlier. And thank God I didn't. Yeah. But it started out with like popping a Vicodin or two. And then it took me to popping about, depending on, like 30 plus Vicodin in a day. My mornings would look like, over the last 2 years before I got sober, and that rapid escalation, relationships deteriorated very quickly. My dependency on it was so much stronger from a physiological standpoint than anything else I'd ever used, that truly took like a serious priority in my life. Yeah. And the consequences of that addiction, looked like me getting kicked out of my house, me losing every single relationship in my life that I said mattered, even though my behaviors and actions weren't aligned with that belief. But actually really losing them, not just saying it. These people made a solid, unified front to not watch me die, or not to participate in anything other than something that looked like I was moving towards recovery. Wow. And then I lost my company. I had of all things, I had a cupcake business. Nice. It's a wild story, but it was a beautiful ride, even despite a lot of the grief and damage, because it was this crazy, whimsical idea. And I've always been a dreamer to try to go after things that people say can't be done, but also, just I love creating. So there was a lot of beauty in it, but that beauty was compromised by my addiction, and I lost that. And then the last but not least, I ended up living in an old warehouse office with another homeless guy. And, I wasn't there for years or anything like that, but, it was a couple months during the holidays, and this idea of me just saying I can't make it. I'll never forget. And I don't know that I've ever shared this on anything. I'll never forget the day, I got kicked out formally, but there was a day that I left, like the day before, knowing I was getting kicked out. And what I did is I went and packed up a backpack, and I got a toothbrush. And I remember going to my front door and saying, I'm gone. I'm never coming back. Wow. And I walked out my front door, I closed it. It's no longer my home. I jumped in my truck and drove off. And that was probably a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then I just disappeared, basically. And so that's where it took me, is what it also looked like for me. And I'm pretty candid about this for all the folks out there who've struggled with it. I like them to know they're not alone, is that, I was highly suicidal, and this was not an empathy play or self-pity or anything like that. There was legitimate desire to not be on the planet any longer. And, I hung out in a cemetery daily for probably 9 months, popping pills and drinking and smoking crack. And it was, ironically, it was the only place I felt safe. And there was a calmness that, even at that time for me was not morbid. It was just like, I couldn't see anybody. I saw no reason for living, but I didn't have, I didn't have the courage, so to speak, and that's a weird word to use, to kill myself. Wow. And so I found myself in this middle state between like not wanting to live, but not wanting to die. And, higher power, regardless of who you believe in, I essentially prayed, many occasions in the cemetery of like, hey, God, can you just show me a sign that it's okay, that you're cool with me to kill myself? Damn. Because if you're cool with that, then I'm going. And, and the threshold for the sign diminished when what I needed to see. I was like, hey, give me a burning bush. That didn't come. How about some like cloud that looks like, a plus sign or a thumbs up? No, that didn't come. Nothing came. And so I was so frustrated with this like existential angst, which is a word I wouldn't even have known then, but this idea of just being in that state of limbo. Yeah. And man, that was hell on earth. And I feel that for folks, but I just wanted to do a call out on that I understand what it's like to be suicidal to the point to where you really can't see outside of it. And I empathize with people out there, but that you can turn around, and you do have a purpose, regardless of how hopeless it feels. You hold on to any freaking thread, even if it's a single one. to just play another day. That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I just want to take a quick opportunity here just on that note. And thank you for sharing that. It is such a big part of this whole journey in recovery. And I know so many people struggle with it. We offer the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's in the show notes. The phone number is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Reach out to somebody. Like, you're worth it. You're valuable. You have purpose. Like, there's a plan for your life too, if you're struggling or if you know somebody who's struggling. So thank you for sharing that, man. It's so important, and it's a real thing, and people struggle with it day in and day out.
Yeah, and the truth that's what drives me crazy is because, like, we walk around the world and, like, we see people and we say, how are you? I'm good. You. We open the door for somebody. We ask the cash register we were checking out, how's it going? We're going good. And it's not going good for everybody.
Yep.
And the reality is we are so much more similar than we would ever want to admit as humans, that we're not very unique. And by that, I mean, like, dude, we're in this together, and I'm not unique to be thinking about suicide or depression or any of that, especially in this day and age. I mean, come on. I mean, if there was ever a reason to be thinking about it, and I'm sorry to even say it that way, it's the combination of the shit show we've had in the last 18 months. But anyway, I love that you did that. Is it 273-TALK?
Yeah, it's 1-800-273-TALK. Yep.
Dude, I'm grateful you said that. I'm going to start using that as well. Okay. Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah. So no, that's good. And I want to jump back into kind of what getting onto, you know, that moment and then that shift for you. But one of the things too, you mentioned, creative. You're a creative dude. You know, you like to create things. You find purpose, passion in it. We've had a couple of these chats. They've came up recently quite a bit, I noticed. And like, for me, I kind of underestimated at one point, the importance of the podcast for me. Like, that's my passion. Like, I'm a musician too. And I kind of transitioned from not making it in the music business, but somehow I found this like podcasting deal, and it's passionate behind it, you know, and it's helped to keep me sober in the long run. I try to spread that to other people, like, find something you're passionate about doing, because that fire, that fuel will help in the process to stay sober, but also to help serve other people too. I just was wondering if maybe you could have a little take on that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, my journey is similar to yours in that, look, you're not on a stage right now or sending out a YouTube video of your music, but this is your music, man. And in the same way that I feel that, like, you know, I didn't become a drug addict and lose everything and hurt tons of people and all that by design to find my greatest dream come true. I was always an entrepreneur. I tell people that I didn't choose entrepreneurship, it chose me. And, you know, I'll say creative at times, but it really comes down to a passionate desire to not accept what is, or the adventure to explore what could be. And so to me, it's like, it's not that I don't want to play with society and all of those things. It's that I have a passion for something inside me that, just like you do, that, you know, find that as your base, your foundation. And that, or the common denominator, if you will, the numerator may change. And I think that, like, for me, and by that I mean, hey, I wish I would have gone sober and started, you know, Amazon.com, and I'd be a billionaire flying into outer space too, you know?
On a big dick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that thing looked like a dick.
I know, I've seen it. At least you said it. I'm trying to stay PC.
I know, man, I can't.
Well, hey, good. You just said what we were thinking. That's the problem with society. We need more people like you to say it.
Amen.
But to your point, the passion and desire to be in business and to create, married with purpose and product and stuff, was why this equation really works for me. Because the bottom line, something that was always fixed, and something I'm hearing from you is, hey, do not compromise your passion. Yeah. It may not manifest in exactly the way that you envision today, but if passion is there, you'll persevere.
Yeah.
And so, I hear that completely, dude.
Yeah. And it's not like, we're not saying go start a cupcake business or go start a yerba mate drink business or start a podcast or do it. I don't know, but find something. And a little tip right here for, one of the things I love is looking back to what I used to love to do as a kid, because it brings that childlike aspect out, and we get all old and moldy and shit as adults and dudes. We're like, we got this, I got bills to pay, and kid, I got to be a dad now. And then we just like forget like all the things that we love to do. And you don't have to live like that, man. It's, you have a choice. You can choose to go a different route.
I think you're dead on. It's funny you say that, because I had a cupcake business. The reason I launched that cupcake business is I was in New York and I saw people walking out of a cupcake place. I knew the economics of a $3 cupcake, and it cost like 25 cents. I knew all of that. What I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt when I left New York City that day is I was launching a cupcake business. And I'll tell you why awesome. It was. It had nothing to do with economics. It had to do with the looks on the people's face as they walked out. Wow. And I knew that was nostalgia. That was classic. That was that time in life that we tapped into. That was our instinctual fulfillment and contentment that you can't design because it comes from within. And what you're saying is, so my tagline, even amidst all of my addiction with the cupcake business, and the irony of selling a cupcake, especially even to men, without them thinking they were homosexual or something. It's like, dude, it's just a damn good cupcake.
It's cupcake.
Was never stop vanilla dreaming. And so I never knew exactly what it meant, because but I knew that's what I was I was like, God, where is it? Where is it out there? That thing that I want. But to your point, I think that's a really cool insight that I haven't thought of. This idea of saying, look, instead of trying to create what you're passionate about, look back and remember what you naturally found joy in, maybe extract the components of that and try to coalesce them into something that could be purpose and profit, in your life, regardless of how that manifests. I like that, dude. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's it. And anybody can do it, man. And it's fun. Make it fun. Make a little list, I'm just trying to give some applicable takeaways here a little bit. But when you were saying that too, bro, it was so amazing. Like for like 2 seconds, I had this quick flashback of like 3rd grade. And remember when the kid would bring in, it was his birthday, and he would bring in the cupcakes, dude. And you got so fucking excited. Yes. So excited, man, dude, you brought me back to that for just like a split second. That was really cool.
That's like a revolutionary change in that day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, damn.
It's cupcakes and we got kickball after lunch. Hell yeah.
Oh, you're throwing the kickball in there? Woo! Damn. All right.
Yes.
Like it.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So where does it go from there for you? Like you kind of had that moment, you hop in your truck and you just bounce. Like what happens after that?
So, in the midst of, living in a warehouse, all contact has been cut off, hanging out in the cemetery, starting to realize that, the funds, I had a little bit of money left still, but it was dwindling. And I knew that that heroin was my next stop, because of just the affordability, relatively speaking, the availability, all of that stuff. I knew that. I was aware enough, even popping 30 Vicodin, to know like, oh shit, I'm going to have to cross over. And literally I didn't want to do that, man. And I was like, I'd rather die almost, because I have some best friends, and one in particular he's gone, man. He's not dead, but I can't get him back. And it just kills me. And he told me one thing like 7 years ago. He goes, Wes, I love you. He goes, never put a needle in your arm. He goes, don't do it, man. Just don't do it that one time, Wes. Please tell me you want. And I was like, so I always remembered that through the years. Yeah. But then I was like, damn, I don't want to live. So bottom line is, how it manifested in a single moment was, and I've told this story a lot, but I was laying there on the ground in the warehouse office. I had taken a ton of Vicodin, I smoked crack. And my thing is, I didn't really love crack or anything like that. It's like when you don't have anything else and you want to feel something else, you just take whatever's around. And so, and it didn't help that my roommate was a crackhead. But anyway, hey, Frank, if you're watching this, I love you still.
Sorry,
Anyway, he knows me and he's still out there, but we're still boys.
Sure.
It is what it is. But so I'm sitting there and my heart was doing some crazy stuff that I'd never had happen. Wow. And like, I'm a guy who is super afraid of the world and completely not afraid of drugs or death. And I am, that's that kind of that dichotomy of who we think we are and then what happens. But I never really thought about this idea of that I could actually die. Everybody talks about it. They say it. You see the stats. And I was sitting there in that moment. I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna die. And I didn't mean right then. I remember I'm saying, no, I'm fully aware now that I can die and that forever I will be taken off of this planet. And there was some type of realization at a different level where I called my ex-wife now and I said, hey, I think I'm going to die. And she hadn't answered the phone before. She wouldn't anymore, all of that. She answered the phone and she goes, if you want to get sober, come home right now. I mean, it was the weirdest thing for this like point blank offer in the midst of all of this healthy, tough love, unified front. And it was such a weird one where I was like thrown off, because I always like to hear something like to keep perpetuating my use or to rationalize to continue to use, someone saying, no, you can't do it. And I'm like, well, screw them. See, they won't even help me. Give me another pill. Like that bullshit, know? But, she said, come home. And I looked over, and this is just a cool moment for me. I looked over at my buddy. I called him Uncle Frank. He was this really big black guy. He still is. Huge black guy, bald head. We come from completely opposite worlds, like completely. But we were unified in our addiction, but also our friendship. And that's what we had in common. But, she said, come home right now. I looked at him, Uncle Frank, and I said, dude, she's telling me to come home if I want to get sober. And he goes, go. And I couldn't believe it because I was funding both of our habits. But he even had that moment of whatever it was, grace, compassion, love, whatever it is, even within the capacity of our addiction to say go. Wow. And that day I went home. I went home right then. The crazy part about that, and I know all of us can relate that struggled with this, I'm not unique, was that when she said that, my instinctual response in my brain was no. Yeah. It was tomorrow. Because I had a handful of pills still, my heart palpitation, but I'm still like, hey, I'm going to die, but I have these pills tomorrow. And we really believe ourselves. We think they're going to go. It's insane. So when he said go, though, in that moment, it meant something different for me because of our relationship and where we were and his dependence on me, that he would acknowledge that, man, it's time to go. So that I went home, and that was the first day of the journey.
Man, I can't help but think about how many people have been in that same situation. Because like you said, we're not unique to this shit. Like we're all, and I think that's one thing I love about the recovery community, especially with all the divisiveness and division that goes on today, is we come from all different backgrounds, just like you and Frank. But we have this thing in common that we understand each other. And unfortunately it's drugs and alcohol, but there's some connection there that helps bring people together. But what I was going to say is I can't help but think about how many people were in that same situation saying, not tomorrow. And then they didn't go. And then tomorrow they died. Like, and I don't mean to put it on a morbid fucking weird tip right now, but I think that's the reality of what we face and what we see day in and day out. And some of us, which we're very grateful, made it through, and some of us didn't, so I'm glad you made it through, number one. But that's a powerful moment that you decided to act upon and had support from Frank. That's crazy too. You're funding his habit and he still said, go, he knew it.
That's the most powerful one of the most powerful moments in my life. Because it was so natural for him. And, people will always say like, that's my boy. And drugs. You're like, take the drugs out. He ain't your boy, but it's like, he demonstrated that we were boys, and that he gave a shit because I pulled all of his money and I was gone. Wow. And he was alone. And I'm like, what? The selflessness in that moment, I'll honor his life, for the rest of mine. But
absolutely.
So, really grateful for that, him showing that love.
So if we kind of fast forward to today, or that journey of recovery, like what does it look like today? Obviously, you have a CLEAN Cause business. We'll talk a little bit about that, but what, just from a recovery tip, what has life been like today, just being sober? Let me ask this question too. Do you still have fun, Wes? Because I get those emails. Oh, how the hell am I going to have fun? It's like, man, I fucking party. I just do it sober. Have fun, How's life today?
I do have fun, man. But I don't play by everyone else's fun rules. Yeah. And by that, I mean, it's not to be rebellious or anything. It's just that, like, if something's not illegal or going to hurt someone, I act out. And so if there's somebody across the street, and I'll just say, "What's up, man? What are you doing today?" No, like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Like, I like conversations like that. And I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm not afraid to interact on this level to discover outside of the norm. I'm not looking for a mediocre life. None of us are. We wanted the highs, man. Can you have the highs in life? Yes, you can. Are you going to be high on life all the time? No, you're not. But that's what makes the highs feel high, because you know what low feels like. It's the contrast. And somebody can say it's happy horseshit, or we can say, no, it's just kind of logic. So I don't want to trade my life for the highs and lows ever. I don't want to hurt people, and I don't want it to manifest in like full out relapse or death. But like, I don't mind the reality of an up and down life. That I prefer. Yeah. One thing you said about addicts and I say addicts or alcoholics or whatever, drugs and alcohol in common, man, anybody who's not an addict and they hear this thinks it's like just me spinning shit up, making chicken salad out of chicken shit, as what Buddy's dad says. I love it. But, like people in recovery or just people struggling, like they're some of the most compassionate people I've ever met in my life. They're almost always some of the most sensitive people I've ever met. And I interpret that as emotional intelligence, which I value greater than IQ. And so like, dude, like I'm grateful, like beyond belief, aside from just the redemption story and all this crap that I can use for my own personal gain. Obviously, I'm saying, no, I love people in recovery and the way they think. I love the addict I just talked to who's still active, at the C-store, and be able to say, dude, I feel you. I know. I don't want you to get arrested today. So go home and hopefully you'll figure this out tomorrow. But today go home, because you're in the middle of the street just talking to no one and you don't know that. I do, and I get it. So it's okay. But like, I find joy in that, man. And so anyway, I just want to say, like, to me, it's a badge of honor. Yeah. I don't mind. I'm like, dude, we won the lottery to be able to connect with people. How else did we win the lottery? Guess what? Had our lives been linear and we went to college right after we graduated, and then we got our 4-year college, and then we went and did our job, and we started to work our way up the ladder, and we went on our vacation to Disneyland. Like, dude, I'm not knocking that life for everyone else who's satisfied with that. But this enables us to squeeze out all we can of real life, because we've been forced to look at it twice, 3, 4 times. And to me, that's the blessing. Yeah. It's huge.
It's good, man. That's living to me. That's living.
It's living. It is. Like it's active living.
Yep.
It's
active.
Like, I'm not just showing up to get my 401k so I die in a hospice bed at 85. Yep.
Yeah.
Screw that. I'm not interested.
I always say I refuse to be a tax asset. I will not. I want to live my own destiny out. And I get a choice to do that. Is it perfect? Hell no. But man, at least I feel alive in the process, Hell
yeah. Good. It's like people will tell me like, my sobriety hasn't been perfect, but my recovery has. Yeah. And by that, I mean, I'm not saying I went and did pills and all that. I'm talking about the journey. That it looks a little shitty, but it doesn't, because it looks perfect. Yeah. And and just to speak out, if I'm going to get on a soapbox for half a second, my problem with a lot of what I would consider orthodox or legacy thinking is the absence of grace. Not grace and a license to use drugs or provision for that down the road, but grace that when people fall, fuck the fall. It's about the bounce back. Yep. Because we're all going to fall. All of us will fall in life. And I'm not talking about just drugs. So everybody says, hey, this is life. It's not about me running from alcohol and drugs. My life will not be that. It will be running towards something greater. That's all it is. And so anyway, I want to say that word, grace. Grace is applicable to all, not people in recovery. It's the asshole that cut me off and going, I don't know what's going on with his life in that day. But for me, one of the greatest things we could do as a recovery community, first and foremost, is that when people fall, we surround them quickly. You shed the freaking shame, because even within the Orthodox community, I've seen too much of that, and it results in a perpetuation of of addiction, man.
Yeah.
And people are afraid. It's like, dude, just show up real, be a real human being, knowing that addiction's my problem, but you eat too much ice cream and you jerk off too much and you do this. I mean, they do. Yeah. They do. But guess what? They don't wreck cars or say really shitty things to other people. So while the internal condition is more often aligned with ours, our outward manifestation and consequences are so much more visible that we're pointed at. We're just like everyone else. We really are. Yeah. We just chose a different way to cope with life. That's it. We don't have an addiction problem. We have a living one. All of us. Yeah. That's it.
Good shit, man. And I love not only a living problem, but a lot of us, or I'll speak for myself, a feeling problem too. Like I never wanted to feel shit. That was why I numbed out for such a long time, I think, because I couldn't wrap my brain around, and I still struggle with that, believe it or not. You know what I mean? I'm holy shit. It's like, it's like,
look, I'll tell everyone right now, like I have my product, CLEAN Cause. Look, I'm not going to bullshit you that, like, is it cool to have like a warehouse full of energy drinks that I can have anytime I want, and where like getting high on your own supply is in quotes okay? Like, yes, dude.
Yeah.
And so when I don't want to feel, I don't go get a gator tail big ass line of Coke. I drink 4 of these, and I'm like, damn it, dude. I'm doing the same thing. They have different consequences externally, but my internal condition, I'm treating things the same way. And so, change. I totally can relate to it. No, it's not perfect. It's never going to be, period.
I think, and that's such a great point for everybody, all of us, Wes, me, everyone listening. It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to get, well, let me speak for myself. I'm never going to get and put the fucking flag on the top of the mountain and go, maybe if I do an awesome hike one day, I like hiking, maybe I'll like literally do it, but it's it's process. I always remember that Keith from Celebrate Recovery would say, I'm in process. It's a daily thing, man. And I love it. I'm just trying to enjoy it. Like as I go, like back to you're saying, like I'm truly grateful for every day because I know what could have been. I know what I saw some of my friends do. I know what I've seen my own father do, still out on the street, like I pray for him every day. But I've had homies who died, homies who are still out there active in it. And I've been blessed enough to not be right now. And I love that every single day. And I love your energy too, bro, because like this shit is contagious to people out there. They need to hear it. They need to feel it. And it helps us all. It doesn't help just you. It doesn't help just me. It helps the person listening and all of us together, which is freaking awesome.
We need to put some emotion about it.
Yeah.
Behind it. We need to put some passion and some authenticity behind it in terms of what I'm saying. I really believe, and people can feel that in the tone. They can feel it. They can see it and all that. And I'm like, dude, I've cared too much about what people think. And I don't mean that as a middle finger. Like, I want to be careful when I say those certain things, because I'm not like, well, fuck you, I'm jaded. Yeah, I'm jaded about certain things, but that's not the purpose of why I say it. I'm saying, hold on. I spent 5 years looking for affirmation externally, even within my sobriety, through likes, Facebook posts, angles of jaw lines on the left with the right light, with my kids that are the most fucking beautiful 2 boys the world has seen, which is true. But, it's like, but dude, and I only recently going through a divorce and stuff, which I'm pretty candid. It's like, I wasn't able to see, man. I wasn't able to see that, damn, dude, even within this space of my intentions wanting to be going the right way, I struggled within my own heart and underneath my own roof. Because I think, the greatest challenge for us when we get into recovery, or I'll speak for myself, is not what I do outside of the doors. It's what I do inside here, this door, and what's going on to the relationships that are in the closest circle. If you can't honor and repair, or whatever that means within that first circle, concentric circles out, why are we going outside? And for me, I've had to look back and go, damn it, dude. You are not the sober prophet. You never were. In fact, you're not even a subject matter expert, you jerky. You've had a lot of experience. I've been blessed to hear from a lot of people across the country who felt a license to share with me vulnerable stuff because I had.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was kind of a tangent.
No, it's great, man. It's good. It's good. It's all good, man. It's all these discussions, conversations, just shooting the shit. Like, that's what it's about to me. That's my favorite thing. I feel like I think that's probably why I love podcasting so much. Which I do it for a living. It's amazing. It's fun. I love my job. I do it, like often, it's great, but the art of the conversation, it seems like it's like, to your point earlier, when you just see a dude, hey, what's up? How are you? No, really, how are you? Like, let's talk a little bit. But what I'm learning too is like, yeah, I talk for a living, but let me listen. Let me be a better listener, because people need to hear, or people need to feel like somebody cares sometimes too. So that's like the art of all of this together. And I really enjoy having these types of convos, man. They're great. Yeah, for sure. And one of my buddies, he drives me crazy. He says, Wes, you need to learn how to be an active listener. I'm like, shit, because dude, like I said, I am an egomaniac with low self-esteem. I think I have bright ideas. You can tell me as the person who's the professional something, and I can tell you why you're wrong. And it's like, and he's like, dude, it's not about even the accuracy or lack thereof of your feedback or comments or anything. It's being in a relationship where someone knows that they're being heard. And it's the way that I show up, the way I display it, the way I don't patronize them by saying, yeah, of course, tell me more. And like, and it kind of hurt my feelings when he said that, because I'm like, fuck you, like, why don't you listen to logic? Why don't you listen to the Niagara Falls of logic that's coming out of my mouth daily, and you might get your shit together. That's my first reaction. And the next one is like, damn, he's right. And it's like, so what's cool is for people like us that are typically out there first, and we're hosting and we're leading conversations, that there's a whole frontier for me, I'll at least say, of this listening side. Oh, dude. Of me going, wait, what if I only listened to what they were saying before my next comment? I couldn't even have the thought until I understood what they were saying, because my response needed to be dependent upon what they were saying. That's active listening. It is. And it's really hard. It's especially hard in conversations like this too, when you're doing a podcast per se, but it's there. It's possible, man, I was going to tell I just totally forgot what the hell I was going to say. No, it's cool. I do that all the time. Yeah. What I was going to say too is just that I kind of wanted to segue into how, the beginning of my journey kind of morphed into this clean and what is awesome. Let's do it. So if you remember what you were going to say, and just come back on me and we'll interject, but it's fine. I was going to, you're like, Wes, I'm running the show, not you. See what I did there? You're awesome. Dude, I just did there. No, so when I got sober, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, shit, you go through all of these things. Your neural pathways and transmitters are getting figured out. You're kicking the opiates off your receptors, like all kinds of shit that we know. Like, you're all over the place, man. Yeah. You're not sleeping. So I was in this transitional period of like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? What do I even have to offer? I was high and drinking the entire time when I launched this cupcake business. I mean, who wants to, invest in a cupcake business? It's not a great idea as a business plan to sell one product, or at least people weren't excited about it. And so I was like, dude, how much was real that I did, and how much was just, liquid courage, so to speak. Yeah. And so I was there for a while of like, dude, I have nothing to offer the world. And in a single day, man, something happened, and a spark came. And that was the beginning. That day was the beginning of Clean Cause. And it just started to roll, dude. And it rolled organically. And I just kept running down there because I saw hope. And I saw it aligned with my passion. Based on what you said, I'm saying aligned with my passion. Yeah. But now I'm understanding that's what that was. I saw something that I knew that also could give me purpose. So our brand started on mission. 50% of the profits go to support individuals in recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. The reason I did that was that it did not matter what came after that. That was the foundation that was aligned with purpose and something I was passionate about and had lived. So I can be passionate and empathetic and really enthusiastic about it.
anything thereafter was going to be aligned as long as I started with the mission first. And so that's how it began. And man, when I had that spark of life and passion, I ran, dude. I ran.
What was the spark, if you don't mind sharing? Like, was there something? No,
literally a spark was in me. I was sitting there and I was like, I don't even have anything creative. I have nothing to offer the world. I couldn't even talk to people because I have so much anxiety and everything. Like, there's no way I could have done this. No way. And people think I'm so open, and I'm not, dude. I'm scared, dude. Yeah. And so, I was sitting there and I literally was like, dude, I'm going to do nothing. And all of a sudden I said, what if I use my story for good, man? And I was like, damn. And I was like, and somehow 50% popped in my head. I go, I'm going to do something radical. I don't even know why. Yeah. And I go, I'm going to give half the fucking profits away of something. I'm going to figure out something to sell. Yeah. And then I go, and it's going to be to help the people that I know because it's the story I know.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's where it started. And that was the spark that then I just started putting a little gasoline on. I was like, okay, hold on, dude. What's this? And I started calling people. And I was like, dude, I have this vision to help people in recovery. And we all have those bright ideas right out of the gates. And it doesn't mean they're not valid. It's just a lot of people don't recommend we do a lot, right, when we're getting sober.
That's so true.
We're trying to get married, our entire life in 60 days. We're like, I'm good.
I got it.
20 years of burning fucking the world down, and I'm good in 60 days.
Yeah.
But then that's where it started, man. And then the rest was just iterative. And it just started to be built. It's just like CLEAN's been like recovery.
Yeah, that's awesome.
CLEAN launched, and then it's learned along the way. It's had different sponsors, so to speak, along the way. Yeah. It's picked things up. It's screwed up. It's gotten back up. And that's it, man.
What year did it launch?
We launched about, I think, a little over 6 years ago. Okay. But the context behind that it was a bottled water brand.
Oh, really?
When I launched, I didn't really know anything about beverage business. I didn't have, so basically I was like, dude, what product can I get? I'm like, CLEAN is like, cool. You want to drink clean water versus dirty water? That's good. Okay. So it's a great CPG product. And then I knew a guy who had a bottled water company, and I called him up. I said, dude, would you bottle some water for me if I gave you a label and blah, blah, blah. And I did. And then I had 40 cases of water in my garage. And I started hustling it out of the back of my truck and just going door to door.
Really?
And we started to build it. We started at door to door with water. And today we distribute to 1,000 locations ourselves in Austin, Texas. Damn. And half our people are in recovery, which is fucking awesome and fun. Like I could probably get in trouble for this. Like, I discriminate, dude. I do. I like to hire people who have fucked their lives up. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's how you get qualified with me. I'm like, how many felonies? I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
You're not touching money for the first year, but I love you. You know what I mean?
Shit. That's amazing, dude. You guys have over 40 employees, right? I think
we're up to 50 now, and they're spread across the U.S. A lot of them, about half of them are sales driven in other regions of the U.S., and then the half are the mothership is here in Austin.
Nice. That's just insane, bro. And so it sounds like you did a lot of what we do in recovery. We do the next right thing. We put one foot in front of the other. You had an idea, and like you said, you ran with it. You believed in it. You were passionate about it. I'm sure it helped you to stay sober. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier with the podcast. For me, it helped me to, we're all looking for purpose. Like, I can't count how many times I've sat in bed, high or not high, from back in the day and even sober now, and just go, God, what's my purpose? What am I here for? Why the hell? I'm on this big round object spinning in the middle of nowhere. And why the hell are we here? It's just crazy thoughts. And when we find something to be passionate about and find some purpose for, man, it's very, very powerful, man. You did that. You just did the next right thing. I think it's awesome. You're going door to door, slinging water. That's amazing, bro.
But dude, you nailed it in my mind. It's really that simple. Purpose.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You can find purpose wherever you are. My dad, I grew up in a really fundamentalist Christian home where there was always these Bible verses and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole deal. I know there's a lot of people out there that can relate. And I'm not going to speak to that or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me, good, bad, ugly, whatever. But one thing my dad had always said to me, because I always would see, you always would, if you went to church or you heard about people, missionaries, They go to all these far away places with all this stuff where nobody has anything. And my dad always used to say, Wes, you can be a light wherever you are. And the whole idea was like, you don't have to go to Africa to be a missionary to find purpose. It's right here. And it's right there across the street. And the man that I'm going to, it's the drink that I'm going to go purchase later today. It's my ex-wife and the way that I can show up and be a better dude, even if I'm hurt or feeling guilty or shame for the life and the shit I brought to stuff, you know? It's like, it's right here. You are it. So anybody, you don't need to launch clean. You don't need to launch that sober guy. Hey, if that's part of the plan and it manifests that way, badass. But your value and your opportunity to live life is equal to anyone else's, including Bezos, who's in space, because we all have the same freaking minute. So the question is, how will we spend it? Will it have purpose? And for me, and it sounds like for you, we have in common that purpose is what gives us fulfillment. It is the North Star. It is our, compass. It is the thing that gives you meaning to keep going.
Oh yeah. Damn.
So I feel that,
Yeah, that's good. It's freaking awesome, man. I love this, dude. Probably one of my favorite combos. I'm not just saying that. Good stuff, dude. Thank you so much for coming on today, spending some time on here.
Let me speak to one of the little
things. Yeah, please.
So the product, like investors get mad when I don't talk about the product. I'm like, I don't care. Okay? I'm not trying to hawk it. Look, to me, if you come for the cause, come back for the quality. If you don't like us, but you like our cause, cool. If you don't like the product, drink Red Bull. We don't care. Cheers to the cause, and the whole idea is that, I just wanted to speak to what our Give Back initiative it is. Two things. One, it's 50% of our profits go to support people in recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. That is our foundational brand commitment and what we deliver on. How that manifests is in sober living scholarships. And the design behind that was meant to be very practical, in line with kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When we looked at the continuum of care, and not even that greatly, I'm not some like expert to know where everything happened. I'm just saying, I just looked at it practically, and I'm like, when I got out of jail or when I got out of rehab or when I got off the streets, where the hell do you go to keep that newfound momentum and inspiration that we all feel in a moment? You're like, damn, dude. And really, it's just like, give them an opportunity in a safe and supportive environment to focus on establishing a recovery routine and getting a job. And so it's meant to be that practical. So again, just to say that, like, when you buy Clean Cause, you're really helping someone, empower them to get onto a bridge between rehab and reintegration. And so one other cool thing about our brand in terms of empowering the consumer and letting them know that the impact is relevant to them is not only the fact that we all know people struggling with addiction and we see all the overdose rates going. We all know it's a societal nightmare and it's highly systemic in how it affects everything. But that when you purchase clean at a store in your region, we give where you swig. So you are actually giving back to your local community. We do not take all that money and take it back to Austin, Texas. We don't. We sell more here, so we give more here. But, the aspiration is we do this across it, coast to coast. And we know that we're a national brand with a local give back, and your freaking purchase is real. It happens, and it's happening to someone you may see.
That's awesome, man. So when you buy, like I'm in Huntington Beach, I just saw some cleans down at one of the coffee shops around here. You buy here, that money goes back in the Huntington Beach, Orange County area, right? That's what you're saying. It's not getting pushed back, which is cool. I didn't know that, man. That's huge.
That's correct. And what that allows us to do is even, you like this idea of being part of the solution. You're like, okay, everybody says that. You're like, what does that mean? Well, the way that I look at it is like this value chain of humans. And it's, we're going to pull a can, eventually I want to give back to the fields in yerba mate in South America. I would love to give them sober living scholarships. You're talking about from molecule to mission. We're aligned on this idea of like the distributor has someone struggling. We've given some of our distributors employees scholarships because it's just relevant, man. And so you're talking, we're going to pull it from the field. There's people in Argentina right now that are struggling with addiction. And then it goes to that front shelf and somebody grabs it. Boom, boom. Every single person in between is affected by addiction somewhere. And that they can know that without each of those hands touching it and the people being a part of that and it getting to the end shelf, but the consumer being that last person to vote with their wallet, is everything. And so every single person along this chain is so valued because the cause is so relevant, and that can empower and really amplify the mission as long as the credibility of the transparency of our give back is always maintained. It's the Hippocratic oath, do no harm. And that means me moving away from it. So it can be its own thing. So it exists way beyond me, and it's not a personality, it's principled. And so that's kind of how I envision things and how I've seen this start to fall, roll out. And man, we've got some big stuff cooking for later in the year, like a massive announcement that I can't even believe is happening.
Really? Oh, that's exciting, man.
I wish I could say it here right now, but it's not inked. It's not inked. Otherwise, I would, man.
Maybe we'll have you back on later on or something, and
that'd be cool. That'd be great. And then when we stop recording, maybe I'll tell you.
That sounds amazing. I won't tell anybody. Cool. I promise. All right. Well, good stuff, man. Let's, I want to be respectful of time. We're almost at an hour. So let's wrap this thing up. Those are called clean kickstarts, by the way, right? The clean kickstarts. I just want to because I love the verbiage on that too. Well, if, we're going to give you the promo code in just a minute. I just want to ask Wes one thing for somebody struggling out there, man. You've said a lot of good stuff, a lot of valuable stuff that, I think can serve and help a lot of people. But if there's someone right now who's just like, man, I don't know what to do. Like, what would you tell them, man?
Man, one thing I'd say is you matter. I would say that 100%. And then I would also say that, if there's a way that we can be helpful, we don't know the total solution, reach out to hello@cleancause.com and we'll try to point you in the right direction. And then, look, everyone who's listening to this has a freaking purpose. It doesn't matter if you believe that or not. You do. And so what I want to encourage people to do is in those darkest of days, or if you're there, man, here's the deal. Find one thread of hope. Don't look for the entire solution because you don't need it. One thread to stay alive. Keep your heart beating to stay in the game. And then when someone says, reach out, take the freaking risk because there's not much in it. Because the only thing that can happen is that you can find more life. So when we talk about suicide and reaching out, the last thing people want to do is call. I get that. But take the risk to call because you may find your life, man. And I believe that with all my heart. And so if you're out there, do it. Trust me and do it because people give a shit about you. And, as we both know, man, you can look back and go, oh, God, I could have done X, Y, and I never would have been here. I wouldn't have been picking up my two beautiful boys I get to go have, and God, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to give me. No, I'm a badass dad, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Yeah, but anyway, and you can find us on, Amazon's the easiest place, or cleancause.com. Follow us on social media. If you're not into energy drinks or you just don't really want to, dude, just shoot us some good vibes. Or if you see us out there, tell somebody about it. We're just trying to spread this thing and create some serious impact that can make other business owners change the way they think and hopefully act. So, yeah,
that's great, man. Yeah, you can follow at Clean Cause, cleancause.com. Too, I just want to say, and this is I've drank plenty of Clean Cause and they're freaking good. Like I've had other energy drinks, people send me stuff and I'm not going to name who they are, but they just don't taste very good. These taste great, I promise. So here's what the team over at Clean Cause did. They're going to give all TSG listeners 30% off through August and September, which is freaking amazing. So if you go to cleancause.com, and then at the checkout, enter the promo code ThatSoberGuy. That's cleancause.com. Enter the promo code ThatSoberGuy. You get 30% off your order there. And man, try it out, guys. Help support it. It's a great cause, obviously, and you get a great drink in the process and get to help support just a great mission. And Wes, thank you so much again, man, for coming on today. It's been really great to chat with you, get to know you a little bit, man. It was a lot of fun.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me. And dude, I just love to hear that, you have found your passion and your purpose, dude, because that inspires me and lets me know that dude, that's a real thing. And the more dudes or women like us that can continue to try to realize that and to spread that to others, to encourage them and empower them to find that purpose, and then find something where that is the DNA or common denominator of the action, your life will get better and there will be more contentment and fulfillment. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we want. We just want to feel whole, safe, and, valued. And so I'm grateful for you, man, and helping spread the cause. And so have a rocking day.
Yeah, Wes, thanks, man. Appreciate you, brother. We'll chat. If you just got one more minute, just hang tight 1 sec. I hope something spoke to you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. Share the podcast with a friend. You can check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Connect us on Instagram at thatsoberguypodcast. Once again, it's cleancause.com. You can follow them at Clean Cause. Love you guys. Peace, love, and respect. Keep your blood clean.
Yeah, I have to haul ass, but I'm